Well, want to welcome everybody to today's Talk with Doc. Today, it is my honor to have as a guest Jess Ronne, and we are going to be talking on caring for the caregiver. First, just want to welcome everyone listening. Those that are on Zoom with us, if you got any questions for us today, you can put them in the chat. Those who are or on the Q&A, and those who are listening on Facebook Live, you can put any questions you might have in the Q&A or in the comment section, excuse me, and we'll be happy to be bringing those in through everything today. So first, Jess, let me just thank you again for being a part of this. And why don't you just take a minute and introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I am Jess Ronne, otherwise known as Jess plus some S. I'm an author, speaker, nonprofit founder, podcast host, mom of 8. I think that covers it. I live in Tennessee and just, trying to stay sane in this crazy current reality of ours, day by day. That's all we can do.
That's right. That's what we all have to do, is just take everything day by day. And I think you summed it up there. It is, this year especially has been kind of messy and a little dirty and more unique than any that we've ever seen before.
Yeah, so, and I don't think it's going to get any better in the next couple of weeks. So we all just need to buckle down and count our blessings.
Yeah, I think we need to buckle in and so first I think we're gonna have this talk at a perfect time. Again, those that don't know, November is Caregiver Appreciation Month. So, we want to give a shout out to all of our caregivers out there. They do such an amazing job and so often are not told that. So I know you always, are their huge advocate. We are as well. We just want to say thank you. And we now want to just talk about how everyone can care for the caregiver. And that can be anyone. That can be churches coming alongside. It can be our friends. It can be family. And it can even be, spouses and others with that. So, why don't we just kind of, get into it? What do we need to know about, let's just talk about caregiver stress, because that's sky high. And I know I've lived it, you've lived it, many of our listeners are living it. Can you just kind of touch on that just a little bit?
I think it's a hard concept for people who don't live it to understand, but I guess how I explain it is you are in this constant fight or flight response, which isn't good emotionally, it's not good mentally, it's not good physically. And I think a lot of people, a lot of caregivers are even able to present a very sane, normal front to the world, but our bodies tell a different story. And I know at least my body tells a very different story. At 43 years old, I am in constant chronic pain because I believe of the amount of stress in my life due to caring for a 16-year-old with severe autism and profound special needs. And I think it's just my cortisol is always on high alert because I don't ever know what he's going to need next. And at 16 years old, going through puberty with severe autism, and he's nonverbal, and he presents that, Lucas, my son, presents that most often through screaming. And then it's a guessing game trying to figure out what he wants, what he needs. Does he have a dirty diaper? Is he bored? Is he hungry? So you're never coming down from this level that's just like constant. And you almost learn to stay at that level because it's more difficult if you allow yourself to enter some rest and then rebound out of that rest than it is to just stay at this level of high alert at all times. Because that's what that's what you're comfortable with, and you don't want to let your kids down or your family down. So
right. But
that starts to take a toll for me personally and my body. I feel that all over in my body in different ways. And I know it manifests in different ways for different caregivers.
Yeah. And it's 24/7. 365. You just don't get a break from it. And you nailed it. People, if you've never lived it, you cannot really understand it and totally grasp it. It's everywhere that you go. And so that's one thing, especially any ministry leader who's out there listening. I know you've already got heart for them, but you realize, just how difficult this is. And when we're talking about caregivers, obviously, frequently that's parents, but we've got many people who are caregiving that aren't parents as well. Whether it's be foster parents or just whatever, however they're doing it. So we've got a lot of different caregivers who are in the pictures with that. So let's just talk about what are some needs that we need to address, and how can we help start caring for a caregiver. What are some, first off, maybe some low-hanging fruit that we can do, because you always hear people say, what can I do to help,
right?
But they're afraid to actually ask or do something.
Yeah, I think first of all, it's an understanding that you're probably not going to see these families. You're going to have to kind of search them out, because we're kind of hunkered down in our houses. I know for me personally, Luke with severe autism and being so aggressive right now, we don't go out with him. So we are kind of hidden away in our house, just dealing right now. And recognizing, I think that there are so many families who are going through this, who are hidden away in their houses. So you're going to have to search these families out. And it's so simple, really. It's just like, see us, because we're not seen. So it's sending a note in the mail, just, hey, I'm thinking about you. It's dropping a meal off on our doorstep. It's, the Lucas Project, the nonprofit that I'm a part of, we make these spa baskets because we understand that right now we can't really do respite for these families in this COVID reality, but we're giving these spa baskets to mamas and just saying, take a little bit of respite for yourself right in your own house. Try to take that breather. So there's so many things, and most families are going to say, no, we're fine. It's a lie. Like, we're not fine. And you might have to throw out a couple of suggestions and say, can I mow your lawn? Can I weed your flower beds? Can I wash your car? Can I bring you a meal? Whatever that looks like. But our lives are exhausting, and just see us somehow.
Right. Let's just unpack that just a little bit more. I think it's something that's important for other people to understand, because that is something that caregivers will say a lot. I'm fine, but they're really not. So how can other people, know that, or what are the next steps that they should take when they hear the I'm fine? Because frequently as a caregiver, it's just in our nature. We don't want to impose on others. We don't, want to be asking, for all this extra help, because we don't want to be a burden to anyone else. And I think that's kind of where it comes from with that. But people truly want to help and really want to be there. And they'll take us for our word when we say, no, we're fine. How can we encourage people to, dig a little bit deeper?
I think if you're willing to offer help in some way, you have to get specific. I know when people specifically say to me, I'm bringing you a meal next week. Here are 3 options. What would your family like to eat? And I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, lasagna sounds great, or tacos sound great. Or, we're coming over to your house to help you Saturday afternoon. What would you like? What would be the most helpful? X, Y, or Z? Like, get specific, and we will absolutely go, oh yeah, that sounds great. I think that's what it boils down to, is just being as specific as possible, because if you're vague, we're going to feel like we're imposing, and we're already with our circumstances, kind of that family that always needs something, like, oh, their kid is in ICU again, or, they need help again. Like, how many times are we going to have to show up and help the Ronnies? So just being very specific, and that's really hard to turn that away.
Yeah, and I think it's, kind of what you said there. Um, you know, just going ahead and doing something. I think, and I've talked to some parents, sometimes some of the biggest blessings are some of the smallest things. When a family may be dealing with crisis after crisis, their child's in the hospital a lot,
Mhm.
and they come home and their yard is mowed, or the leaves are all raked. This time of year,
Mhm.
leaves are all raked up. Um, oh my gosh, what a huge blessing that is. And people don't think that's much, but that's a ton. When you're
Right.
caregiving, you just don't, that those are things that are forgotten about or get put on the
Mhm.
back burner because you don't have time. That doesn't become a priority when you're a parent or a caregiver of a individual with disabilities, because
Right.
you've got so many other requirements that you have to meet. So just being able to know someone can bless you by helping do some yard work, that's a huge thing. So, I'd encourage, people to see if they can step up. And, one way churches can get involved, get your youth group out there and do that. That's a great way to get the youth involved. Great way for them to earn community service hours and learn to bless others,
Mhm.
where they can just spend a Friday night or a Saturday and just run, how cool would it be to bless every family in your ministry or at your church, and just go take care of all their yard care, for a weekend without telling them.
Yeah.
Just
Nobody's gonna balk at that.
No
I
one's going to
mean,
balk at that.
no.
And especially in today where we have social distancing, you don't have to worry about that. You're not going to their door or anything. And if you want, you can leave a nice little note on the door or something saying, "Hey, you're blessed by so and so."
Right.
But yeah, no one's going to turn that down. But it's just pushing through that, and knowing that these families really need help
Mhm.
with it.
Like I always say too, our to-do lists are never ending, and it's stuff like that that we don't ever get around to doing, raking the leaves in the lawn, or it's all that piddly stuff, washing our windows. Like it's just not going to get done. So
Right.
it's huge, like if we see that it actually got done. And another thing too, a lot of caregiving families are in and out of the hospital. And what people don't take into consideration is there are probably children at home who aren't getting a good home cooked meal because mom and dad are running back and forth to the hospital, or the amount of gas that often takes to go back and forth to a hospital all the time to visit a chronically ill child. So gas cards are huge. Meals for the kids at home are huge. Just somebody even checking in on the home life. Hey, is everything okay here? Because I know your mom and dad are in and out a lot, taking care of your sibling. So just a couple other suggestions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I throw out another one that, I know has blessed us and a few other families. Just someone saying, "Hey, look, we're coming over. We're going to do your laundry. Let us just
Mm-hmm.
help you do your laundry." And you know what? And I'm going to speak right now to caregivers out there. Let your pride down. Let people help you. You don't need to do everything on your own. You've got an army around you that loves you and wants to help you. We need to be able to, you need to welcome them in and help you with that. But yes, exactly like you're saying with that. One thing I want, as we're talking, and all great points, but we need to remember, when we're dealing with this and caregiving and disabilities, that's also deals with mental health, and in the whole mental health picture. And we need to remember they need help just as much. It just blows my mind how, you might have a child, with special needs who ends up in the hospital and needs something. All of a sudden you've got meals coming.
Mm-hmm.
But you may have a child who has, mental health issues and has depression. All of a sudden they're in the hospital with depression. There's no meals coming. There's
Mm-mm.
no talk coming. Um, why is that any different? It shouldn't be. We need to treat them the same and welcome them, and not have this whole stigma with the whole mental health piece there. So here I'm definitely calling out the church on this. We need to come along these families and help them there as well with that.
Well, along that line of thought too, I believe the statistic is 60% of caregivers struggle with depression. So
Yes.
if you know a caregiver, they're probably struggling with depression. And I know I've had a therapist say to me, you have situational anxiety. He said, you remove yourself from your situation, you're fine. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like, this is my life. I have a child with profound special needs. I can't remove myself from my situation. So I need to somehow learn to cope with this and find, good self-care methods and time for myself, because I can't remove myself from my situation. So it's recognizing, and I think taking ownership of that for yourself too, as a caregiver, and saying, I need to take ownership of this. I'm not going to be a martyr mom where I don't allow myself to ever pursue things for myself, because that's not going to do my family any good either.
Right. Absolutely. Completely there. And so let's kind of segment a little bit with that. And because you're exactly right, the depression's a huge part that can enter in. And one of the biggest things, like you said, there can be that whole situational piece, just needing a break, because caregivers are so busy caring that they can't actually care for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And one way, and I know this is something heavy on your heart and Lucas Project, let's talk about respite. And why don't you just share a little bit more about Lucas Project and what you guys are trying to do, and then we'll talk about respite and the need of respite for caregivers and how we can help them through this.
Sure. Well, the Lucas Project, our mission is to provide recognition, resources, and respite for caregivers. The respite portion is on hold right now with our current COVID reality, because we're not allowed to gather in groups. But in terms of the resources and the recognition, we have a documentary project that we're working on right now with a couple of local filmmakers called Unseen, which will explore the mental health crisis among special needs caregivers. We are actually gearing up to do kind of a big fundraising event in January, and we're hoping that if we can portray the special needs reality in such a way that the general public is finally able to see, to take a peek behind the curtain into our lives and actually see what we're going through. And then the resources portion right now, like I said, we're just doing the spa baskets and showing up for special needs mamas, mainly in hospitals, giving them a spa basket as they're sitting with their child who's going through some debilitating recovery or whatever it is, and saying, we see you, we honor the work that you're doing. It's hard and holy, and here's a spa basket so that you can take a little bit of respite for yourself at home. I'm hoping, as the world opens back up, we're able to start our respite chapters up again. We do have some plans to start a brand new chapter in Michigan, and we offer grants to communities who are interested in starting respite where they live. So that's where we are right now. And respite's a huge part of being a caregiver. It should be, at least, and finding just a couple of hours per week, every week for yourself or for your marriage. And I think making it a priority and consistency is key, like getting into that rhythm and that routine where you are recognizing this need for yourself and making it happen.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And Lucas Project. So I encourage, why don't you go ahead, share how they can learn more about Lucas Project as well, real quick.
It's just the lucasproject.org. Everything's on our website, all the ways that you can help and get involved. And we would love to have you learn more about us.
Yeah. So, I encourage everyone to check them out. Jess and her family are great with this and great heart. And, honestly, we kind of are kindred spirit with that when it comes to the respite and the need for respite for families. And so absolutely love that. But respite definitely is a huge thing. And so, I'll call out right now also to the churches that are there. If you can figure out how you can do respite, and absolutely right now we are dealing with COVID, as Jess said, and that's hard, but we need to try to figure out other ways we can do things. Right now, SOAR, we're offering a virtual respite It's not the best thing. It's not right for everybody, but it helps some of our families, and that's open to anybody. If you're interested in that, you can reach out to us at SOAR, and we'd love to have you be a part of that. Have any church be part of that. That's completely free. But we're looking to hopefully restart in-person respite coming up in 2021, where we're going to do our respite completely different from where we've done it in the past. We're looking at find new locations, be a lot smaller, starting with just 10 individuals at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the important thing with respite. If you're even able to bless one family, one caregiver, it is successful.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think, oh, we have to have a big respite, because our for us, for SOAR, we used to have 160 individuals with disabilities, 90 siblings, 400 to 500 volunteers. They're huge. Don't feel you have to do something like that. If you can just do one family, two families, that's a great thing. Right now, it might even be trying to think out of the box how we can bless them. And again, caring for the caregivers. I know there's some churches and some places where they're actually bringing the respite into the house, which would be awesome. And basically just come in and, basically it's a specialized babysitting for the family, taking care of the kids, taking care of the individual with disabilities, and then allowing mom or mom and dad to get out for an hour, a couple hours. That can make a huge difference. And for me, what I love with respite, when families come in at the beginning of the respite, you see that stress on their face. It is so heavy, and they're just carrying it. And then they come back 2 or 3 hours later, it's gone. They're completely renewed. And it's amazing how just a little break, a little reprieve, no matter what they've done. And I love asking parents what they did on respite. I've had some who said, I just took the best 2-hour nap I've had in my life.
Right.
Fantastic. Another mom said, I just went grocery shopping. I never realized I could do all the grocery shopping in 15 minutes and not end up with a basket full of extra things.
Without my kids. Right.
Without the kids. Right.
Right.
So that was respite for her. Respite is different for everybody, but it just completely helps them. And so that's something we need to think through, how we can help them through that. So, we've thrown out a lot of different things here, the respite, helping out. What are some other things on how we can really reach our caregivers and really show them that we care for them and want to help them?
Well, my husband and I have talked about an idea, and I really think that churches could implement this really easily. Almost every church, at least mega churches, have these small groups. And we said, why can't a small group like adopt a family in the community where they really get to know this special needs family, and they really get to know this child over a period of time. Yeah. And the small group does these weekend lawn mowing or raking leaves or bringing a meal. And then once they really get to know the family and earn the family's trust, they could go into the house collectively as a group. So it's not as scary, because I know sometimes these kids can be a little bit scary, and give the parents like a 2 or 3 hour respite break.
Right.
And it's this whole group collectively coming together, doing this as a mission field, and really blessing a family, either within their church congregation or within their community. And it would be huge, because the level of trust would be there too, between family and small group. So just another idea that I really think could work extremely well in most church settings, and be a huge blessing to families.
Oh, absolutely. And it then allows the church to be the church. The church needs to be there for one another and help one another. And it helps, those who have not been touched by disability understand and see what it is. And that's the important thing that we need to do in churches, is the whole education. And the best way to get educated is
to get into the mess.
Get in the mess and see it. And so that's a great way to do it. And I absolutely love that. And it would be so cool to see churches, do that. And I know right now that, if there are any churches out there that are thinking about doing that or wondering how to do that, I'm sure, Jess and her husband would love to talk with you about that. Our team would love to talk with you about that too, and assist you in that, because here's the trick with it. It's not that hard. There's only one requirement to it. And this is what I tell everyone. There's one requirement, and that requirement is, can you be a friend? That's all
Show
it is.
up. Just show up.
Show up, have a heart, be a friend. And you don't have to have experience. You don't need to understand autism. You don't need to understand all the other disabilities. What your ministries, you can train them, you can help them with that. The caregivers, they'll help show you what you need to do. You'll get everything you need to know. Don't allow fear to prevent you from serving these amazing families and helping them, because they so desperately need that help, and need that love to be given to them. So absolutely love that.
Yeah, and in a small group, you're going to have some people who are a little more confident in what they're doing and some who are a little more tentative. And that's okay, because you can all lean on each other and you can all learn together. And there's an intimacy there too between the family and the group as you're building this relationship that hopefully, God willing, will last a really long time and be really beneficial to that family.
Right. Absolutely. I think, we've got to constantly remember that, we need to serve these families and help them. And many times these families, these caregivers, are not able to be a part of a small group. So the next step that I'd encourage, invite this family to become a part of your small group. And how cool would that be then? Just so that you can welcome them in and truly be able to minister to them on every level. All too often the families aren't welcomed in because of what's going on in their life. But if we can help the groups understand and be educated on that, it'll completely open the door for everything else. And you'll see that group be blessed. You'll see that church be blessed, and it'll just be an amazing situation for everybody.
We've never been able to be a part of a small group for that very reason. It's too difficult for us to, one, bring 8 children to somebody else's house and be a part of that. And then Lucas, who's very used to his own normal environment, and sensory issues, and we wouldn't get anything out of a small group setting just because he wouldn't allow for it. And then to find somebody to take care of Lucas so we can go to a small group, it's too many things going on for that to happen for us. Right.
And that's usually the story for the overwhelming majority of caregivers, with that. And they, and I'm sure you would love to be part of a small group.
Oh, we've tried many times. Yep.
Right. And so it's not for a lack of trying. It's not for not wanting it. It's just, the nature of the beast, if you would.
Right.
But we just need the better education and coming along the church and getting the pastors there to understand and help. And it's just education is where we need to come with this and help with that.
Yep, exactly.
So, love that. What other things that we can do then to, what can we tell, others to help out the families with this then? Other ideas you have for things?
I think I threw out all my ideas.
Yeah, those are good. And we've got a lot there.
I think what it boils down to is seeing us and then showing up. Like, you can see and, okay, yeah, I understand Jess's life is really hard or whatever, so-and-so's life is difficult. But if you don't show up, it doesn't matter. So it's seeing and then showing up and doing something. And we've had some wonderful people come alongside us during the past couple of months. And it's mainly just been meals. And honestly, it's dropping off a meal on our front porch. And it's just one less thing that I have to think about is feeding my huge crew food and keeping enough, food in the house for my huge crew. So I think it's that simple. It's a lasagna, it's tacos, it's spaghetti. It's just saying, I see you, and then showing up in some way, shape, or form. And I will say, I understand that not everybody is comfortable taking care of Lucas, especially at the stage he's at right now. But every single person has gifts that they can offer a family, whatever that looks like. I've had people say to me, can I show up, like somebody who cuts hair, can I come to your house and give all your kids a haircut? Yes, absolutely. That saves me $100, and I don't have to schedule 8 kids to go get haircuts. I had another person once say, can I buy all of your kids new shoes for the upcoming school year? Again, absolutely. Yes. That's $40 a kid that I have to go out, get all of them shoes. And it's just one less thing on my to-do list. So
Right.
I think all I'm saying is everybody has gifts. And if, you're a mechanic or a masseuse, or you cut hair, or you bake really great brownies, use whatever gift you have to bless whatever families you have in your neighborhood, and it will go such a long ways.
Yeah. One other thing that would be super simple and just a low hanging fruit, and it's something we're starting to do as an organization. We're starting to just send cards of encouragement to every one of our families, especially our mamas, because it's usually the moms that are in the trenches more, buried down with everything. And again, I'm going to speak to the ministries out there, the churches out there. I know you've got people in your church who are major encouragers, and they would just absolutely love to be able to write notes of encouragement. And oh my gosh, that can completely change a day for a caregiver when they get a note or get a card of encouragement, just saying, hey, someone prayed for me today. Someone's thinking about me today. Because so often we get so wrapped up in what's going on, we think we're forgotten about. No one else is thinking about us. So that's, again, another little easy thing that people can do.
Right.
That it's not invasive, but it can make a big difference.
And I think understanding too, going off of what you were saying about the mamas, understand that being a caregiver can really take a toll on a marriage too. And although the men may not be as vocal about it, if their wives are completely engrossed in caring for this child, that marriage needs a little bit of spark somewhere as well. So like offering to watch the kids so that the marriage or that the couple can go on a date night or get away for a weekend or whatever that looks like, because caregiving can be all encompassing, I think, especially when the moms are concerned. And maybe you can speak to that a little bit more as a man, but I think that the marriage can often get put, on the back burner, because heaven forbid that the marriage be a priority when there's this child with all these needs that needs to be cared for. So again, kind of a martyr syndrome that I think we probably need to start talking about as women. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I'd encourage, the dads out there, as well, it's absolutely okay to talk about your emotions, and to be emotional there, but you need to be there and talk. And I know you may have had a hard day at work, but trust me, your day was nothing like, your wife, if she's staying at home, taking care of the kids and dealing with everything. I've done some of that, and that's by far the hardest job I've ever had in my life. And so I've got a whole new respect for that. And if any dad has been, at home during COVID and having to deal with that, realize that is what it's like all the time. So, have some compassion and be willing to talk. But yes, definitely needs, the parents need that time alone and be able to get their marriage resparked and
show up with some flowers for your wife at the end of the day.
A card, saying some kind words, even, that can go a long ways.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and make the shift a little bit, and let's start talking then, since we're already on it, about the caregivers themselves. How can caregivers help themselves with just through the day and making life not so stressful. You know, and I'll just throw out, you know, one example for me. I know one important thing that worked in my life is, you know, just prioritize. I can't talk all of a sudden. Prioritizing tasks. You know, you've got all these things that have to get done. And we've kind of already hinted on that, but they don't all have to be done right now. You know, so, you know, we kind of think about it, but like we said, well, the windows, those can get done later. The mowing, that can be done later. But getting Johnny his medicine, that has to be done right now. I can't miss that. Getting to the appointment or the therapy or so on and so forth, we have to do those. And there's other tasks that you have to do, but you know what's more important, but it's vital that we prioritize them, get them on the calendar, and just know what's there. Not so that you feel like, and the other thing I would just want to say real quick then to the caregiver, don't feel like you're a failure if you don't get some of these tasks done. It's okay to not get a task done. Nothing's wrong with that. Push it off to tomorrow, push it off for a week, push it off a month. Who cares? One of the things that you do have to have on your task, though, is taking care of you. You need some downtime. And so, you know, that's something I just want to throw back to you, Jess. Can you talk maybe just real quick on the importance of taking some time for yourself in the middle of caregiving and how that can help?
Yeah, that's my passion. And I've gotten a lot better at it in the past couple of years. But for me, I've discovered that I am most joyful and at peace when I have rhythms in my life. So consistency. And I'll just share what works for me. I get up every morning and I take a 2-mile walk, either with my husband or by myself. And we kind of joke that we try to get the most bang for our buck when it comes to self-care. So it's self-care for our marriage and self-care for ourselves, and we're getting some sun, so vitamin D. So, and that takes 30 minutes, and we go for our 2-mile walk, and then we come back and we pray together. And then for the longest time, I was trying to squeeze an hour of yoga in a day because I really enjoy yoga and it brings a lot of peace and calm to my soul. And I could not squeeze an hour of yoga in. Just was not finding that time. And so I was finding that I would go weeks without doing any yoga because I couldn't get that hour of yoga in. So I decided just to say to myself, you know what, let's just shoot for 15 minutes a day. Right after dinner, you're going to go do your 15 minutes of yoga. And that was something I could consistently do, was that 15 minutes. So maybe it's not yoga for everyone. Maybe it's reading a book for 15 minutes. And maybe it's not walking for everyone. Maybe it's, I don't know what other people do. I like to walk and get that out of me, that movement, I think. And I would say that too about self-care. I know, like, we store that trauma in our bodies because it takes a lot to care for these kids. And it all gets stored in our bodies, and we have to get that out of our bodies somehow. And for me, that is walking, that movement. And maybe for other people, it's dancing or weightlifting or playing ball or whatever, but we got to get that out of our bodies. And that's something I've just recently discovered, even in the past couple of months. But just another example, when Luke was in ICU for a month last year, he's been in the hospital a couple of times throughout his life, but I finally decided that I wasn't just going to sit there in his hospital room all day, every day, and actually brought my yoga mat, sprawled it out in his hospital room, and would do some yoga while I'm there, just for some self-care while I'm taking care of my son who's recovering. So again, it boils down to consistency. If you make it part of the rhythms of your life, then I think it's a much easier task to fulfill, and not this huge grand idea, just little 15, 20-minute increments here and there. It's, like a pump of gas in your tank, keeps you going.
Absolutely. And it's vital to do. And so again, any caregiver out there, I encourage you, find ways to do it. And it's finding what fills your tank, what you're passionate about. Like you said, Jess, you love yoga, walking, it might be kickboxing, it might be reading, whatever it is that you really enjoy, that just gives you that peace that restores you, that can energize
Mhm.
you, find that and find the time to work that in, even if it's just 5-10 minutes a day, to do that. Do it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
taking care of yourself. I mean, you will feel better too if you're getting enough sleep, if you're drinking enough water, if you're eating healthy foods. Like all of that makes you a better caregiver too at the end of the day.
absolutely. And that's what I was going to say next. We need to make sure we are getting the sleep. So many times, you know, we can't wait for the kids to go to bed, because then we're kind of like, huh, all right, now I can get stuff done. And there's the thought that, okay, I need to get as much done as I can. You stay up late, wear yourself out, and then go to bed. And I don't know how Lucas is, but a lot of our kids, um, they're not great sleepers.
Right.
And so they're getting up in the middle of the night, which means you're not going to have a good night's sleep. So I want to challenge you not to have that thought that you stay up and try and get all these extra things done. Again, prioritize things. You'll get them done when you get them done.
Mhm.
Or better yet, ask for help.
Delegate. Yes.
Delegate it. Ask for help. Get siblings to do some things. Ask
Yes.
your husband, to do something if you're married. Ask other family members to do something. Those are so important that you need to do. You got to delegate things, get things off your plate.
10-year-olds know how to use the washing machine. Like 6 of my 8 kids do their own laundry. They're fully capable. Is it exactly how I would want it done? No, and they're capable of sweeping the floor after dinner, and you don't need to do everything.
Right. Absolutely. So, remember that and encourage you with that. The other, I just, one thing I just want to remind everyone, there's one saying I absolutely hate. And personally, I feel it just comes straight from the pit of hell, to be honest with you. But the saying is, God will never give you more than you can handle.
Yes.
And I completely disagree with that. I personally believe God does give you more than you can handle. And there's a reason for that, because he doesn't want you to handle it all. And I feel it's God trying to test us. God gives us more than we can handle because he doesn't want us to handle it all. We need to focus on what we actually have control over. And that's what we deal with. That's what we focus on. Everything else we have no control of, we just give it back to God and say, okay, God, here, you take it. Because guess what? Being a caregiver or being a parent of a child or individual with disabilities, there are so many things, and a lot of it completely out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do a single thing about it. But oh my gosh, can we ever spend a ton of time worrying about it, fretting about it, trying to fix it? If we just stop and give that to God and just focus on what we actually do have time and work on that, one, we're all of a sudden going to have extra time because we're not wasting our time on things. And two, God will bless us. He will take care of those other things. And we just need to trust him with that. And he tells us he is there for us. So I just want to encourage our families out there, hearing that, that, God is here. He loves us. And he wants to take some of this off of you. So just be willing to give that back to him.
Easier said than done some days, but absolutely.
100%. I'm
Yep.
not about to act
No.
like it's a super easy thing.
No, it's not. It's obedience.
It is, and it's something that we learn as we go through it.
Absolutely.
And something we constantly hoping to get better with.
Right.
On that too. So, I think one other thing too that most caregivers do that I think helps them with everything. But if maybe someone's listening here and they haven't done it, and for me it's just natural, make a schedule. I think making a schedule really helps you kind of put your day in order and helps you see what you've got going.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, for me, I don't know if you do schedules, Jess, but a lot of times that just kind of helps your day flow and know what you've got and what you have to get done.
Oh yeah, I'm the queen of to-do lists. I have three sitting right here in front of me. So yeah, it is. It's kind of dumping it out of yourself, and there, it's on paper. I'm not going to forget about it, because that's my biggest problem, is forgetting later on. So writing it down, and I don't feel like, I mean, my to-do lists are really long, but I don't feel this obligation to complete everything in a day, but to be able to check a few things off there. That was a good day. I accomplished some things. Now I can rest. But yeah.
Exactly. And in the last thing for me that I want to make sure I share to all of our families with it, and I hope they understand my heart when I say this, and it's something that ironically I tell every single one of my employees when they first join me, but I'll tell every caregiver too. I give you permission to fail. I give you permission to fail. And what I mean with that is, I'm not expecting you to fail as a parent. I'm not expecting you to fail as a caregiver. But we're all going to have some bad days. And there are going to be things that don't go the way we expect it to go. It's life. We have to give ourselves grace and know that we can't beat ourselves up about it if it doesn't go the way we want it to. And especially in life of, disabilities, things rarely go the way we had planned or had hoped. We have to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so many times caregivers can get in trouble when they start beating themselves up because it didn't go the way they had it planned, or it didn't happen, it wasn't how they wanted it to go. It's okay. No one's going to be upset with you. Tomorrow's going to come. And let's look at that. And my key word in life is the word perspective. Let's change our perspective. Let's not be focusing on what went wrong. Let's find out what is going well. And I think too many times we have the wrong perspective. We're focusing on the bad things because there's so many things going on. We need to focus on some of the positive things going on around us. And when we do that, all of a sudden our outlook can become better. And when we're have a positive perspective, it's amazing. You're going to get more things accomplished. You're going to get more things done. When we got a negative perspective, we're treading water. We're barely getting anything done. And it goes back to all that mental health again. It really makes a difference there. So I just want to throw that out to our caregivers or ministries to remember that as we move forward on things too.
I love that. The Lucas Project, our motto is tomorrow we try again. So right along the same lines, Absolutely. Today may not have been what you thought, but tomorrow we wake up, it's a new day, we try again.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Well, we are coming up near the top of the hour. Just go back to you, Jess. Is there anything that we haven't touched on, or anything just on your heart you want to share to either caregivers or to others out there in helping caring for caregivers?
Well, you touched on something at the end about perspective, and I really like that, because it is living with an eternal perspective. And once you sort of remove yourself from your small little world and your small little reality and try to view things with God's story in mind, it really opens up a world of possibilities. And I guess that's been a hard lesson for me over the past couple of years, but even seeing Lucas's story, in an eternal perspective, and all the lives that he's touched just with his story and with our story. And I mean, so many more lives that he's even touched than, my typical kids, just with, right. And he has no pride. He's the humblest being on earth. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if he becomes, world famous. He's just Luke, but people are so inspired by all the things that he's overcome. And I think that's where I'm inspired, is by seeing his little light shine in God's greater story. And just, yeah, you're right. Having a spirit of thankfulness and recognizing those things in life that are great. I mean, we live in the greatest time in the world, really. I mean, when you think about it, we all mostly have houses over our heads, and we have food to eat, and warm beds and people who love us, and just really focusing on those things, I think can really change your perspective.
Absolutely. Couldn't say that any better myself. Absolutely love that. So, Jess, I just want to thank you so much for, taking time with us today. This is, such an important subject. Any ministry leaders out there today, again, encourage you to find ways that you can help support caregivers, that help support the parents in your ministries. Jess is available. You can, reach out to her. You can contact her again through the lucasproject.org. Learn more about the Lucas Project, fantastic foundation. You can reach us at SOAR. We're here to help you. Again, we've got multiple virtual respite programs going on. We've got a parent support group as well. And that's another way that caregivers can get some help, is just through support with one another, talking through what's going on. When you realize you're not alone, that others are experiencing the same thing. So those are things that we're doing. And then I just want to throw out one thing that SOAR's doing that, right now, we just launched our SOAR Christmas Blessings. We are aware of many families. This year, as everyone knows, has just been a tremendously tough year. But we are aware of many families, not just in our area, but we've got families from all over the country that we are going to help support, who are not able to provide Christmas this year. Many are single parents. They've lost jobs. They've had death of a spouse, and they now have Christmas coming up with no way of providing for their family. And so we are doing SOAR Christmas Blessings, where we are looking for families, for churches, for small groups, for organizations, businesses to come alongside and adopt some of these families and provide Christmas for them, because we truly believe everyone deserves a positive memory from 2020. And by doing this Christmas blessing, everyone's going to have a positive memory, because those who are giving the blessings, you're going to be blessed. You're going to have this positive memory because you're blessing a family. And then these families that are receiving the blessing, you're making their Christmas for them, and you're going to give them a positive way to end the year. So help us help these families in having positive memories. Help us bless you at the same time. If you're interested in being a part of this, or if you know a family who is struggling and needs to be a part of our Christmas blessings, let us know. You can reach us at info@soarspecialneeds.org, and that's SOAR, info@soarspecialneeds.org, and we'd love to get you set up for that. Also remind you, we still have, you can get all the information from our Wonderfully Made conference we had last month, and we've got ongoing talks. We'll have some talks coming up here in just a few weeks that you'll be able to get. You can get all that through our VIP access. You can go to wonderfullymadekc.com, wonderfullymadekc.com, and get signed up for that and access everything there. We will have our next Talk with Doc. We're taking off next week because of Thanksgiving. Want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. But our next talk will be December the 4th. And super excited to have Jolene Philo join us. And we're going to be talking on the 5 love languages of a special needs child, and going over her book, Sharing Love Abundantly. So encourage you to join us for that. Invite every family you know who has a child with disabilities, because this is such a impactful book. You'll learn a ton with it, and great time to be able to spend with Jolene and learn more. I promise you'll be blessed learning through that. We encourage you to partner with SOAR as we move forward. If you want to help us continue to make these webinars possible, you can go to soarspecialneeds.org/donate and sponsor this and help us with that. But Jess, again, thank you so much. Been a complete blessing. Absolutely love what you do, and your husband with the Lucas Project. And I know I'll speak for myself and SOAR. We're excited to be partnering with you in the future on things and future projects. So again, I encourage everyone to go out and check check your project out. And if anyone's trying to do a respite and looking at it and they're having a hard time getting funds, please
reach out.
Reach out, because you all have some grants available for that. So it's a great opportunity. So they can provide the grant for you, and we can provide the resources to actually do it. So it'll be a perfect 1-2 combination.
Perfect.
For you. So absolutely love that partnership that we can provide for you as ministries. But the bottom line is, love these families, help them out, especially this time of year. And maybe just, even simplest thing right now, send all your families a Christmas card, just letting them know you love them, you're thinking about them, because so many of them haven't been able to make it to church, this time of year. Let them know they're not forgotten. I think a lot of our families feel like they've been forgotten, just because everyone's been locked in for 9 months, and it looks like we've got several months ahead of us still with it. So.
No, I love that. Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
All right. Well, Jess, thank you again. And everyone, we'll see you in 2 weeks. You all have a blessed time. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.